Good afternoon, White Pine County School District's friends and families. This is your Superintendent Adam Young, and I have the pleasure today of being joined by White Pine Middle School health teacher RyLeigh Tate. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, teaching health all day long, 13, 14, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids. I'm sure that is an interesting endeavor. What is that like?
It is. I mean, it's really fun to be able to share my passions and things I'm excited about for 6 hours of the day. I really like teaching the kids about their bodies, why things are the way that they are, why things are happening to them the way that they are. Due to the nature of what I teach and the nature of the kids' age, they sure keep me on my toes.
I would imagine so. And I'm guessing that they probably try to throw you off your game sometimes with some questions that maybe you weren't expecting.
Daily. At least once a day, I get a question. I'm like, oh, all right, here we go.
Yeah,
Welcome to middle school.
yeah, for sure. And so this is your fourth year in the school district. What brought you to White Pine?
It was actually my husband. So we came out here for my husband's job, and then I was able to be brought on by the school district shortly after we moved out here.
Okay. And what has this last 4 years been like as an educator, trying to get your feet underneath you, figure out kind of the content and how to interact with the students and the families. Like, what's that been like?
It was my first year was a big struggle. One, moving out. Um, I grew up in Salt Lake City, so moving out to a very rural. That was huge in itself. And then teaching middle school for the first time, I was used to little kids, like preschool, kindergarten, little kids. Um, Middle school is not much different. They're not. And that took me by surprise. I was expecting there to be a lot more differences. There wasn't. Content wise, again, my first year trying to figure out the state standards, it was a little bit rocky, but now I've been into it and I've been able to get into a groove. I've actually been able to teach the students a lot more about them and their overall health than I thought was possible my first year. So it's been awesome to just experience the growth within my own teaching capacities as
Yeah,
I've been here.
yeah. A lot of people, in my experience, it's kind of a weird dichotomy. Like when you tell them you're a teacher, a lot of times they're like, "Oh, bless you," I could never do that, and this and that, and then sometimes in the very next breath they might say, "Well, it's not like it's rocket science, How hard can it be to actually be a teacher?" What do you find to be the thing about teaching that most people in the general public maybe just don't understand?
I'm Well, I feel like there's a lot that the general public does not understand about teaching. You're not just teaching a kid how to read or how to write. You're um, teaching them how to behave in the lesson of right place, right time, and it's helping them work through big emotions. There's a lot more of like the social emotional side of teaching that people don't understand, and that's what is a little bit tricky because each kid's social emotional needs are so very different. But that's also one of my favorite parts about teaching is being able to have those personal relationships and be that support for our kids when they, through the development of the relationships I've had with kids, when they go up on their mat score, I'm the first one they come running down the hall to tell me they went up, or when they're having a hard day, I'm the first person that they come to help them work through that hard day. And those joyous sides of these teenagers, that's the thing that the public does not get to see, which is really sad to me because these teenagers are really amazing young people and hilarious in their teenager way.
Yeah. So you mentioned that your previous experience was with young children. Tell us a little bit about your background, your own education, some of the things that were impactful in your life that caused you to say, "Yeah, I want to be a teacher."
Uh, so, oh, that's a big question. Um, my own education, when I first graduated and moved out, I was going to become an athletic trainer. And my bachelor's degree is in human movement science with an emphasis in exercise science and psychology. From that, I started my master's in athletic training. And I was dead set in being an athletic trainer. And it wasn't until I was in my program that I realized that it wasn't for me. And it was in those moments where I had to really reflect that, like, what I've been prepping for 6 years is not, this isn't me. I was in somebody else's shoes. And during that reflection, I realized all of my time as a para and an after school director in my undergrad, that's where I was happiest. I was happiest working with the kids. I was happiest, helping them through their struggles as they're learning new concepts. And that's when it hit me that I'm like, nope, I need to get back into a school building. That's where I belong. I never expected myself to be a teacher until it was that moment where I was like, ah, okay, never mind. I was wrong. I was so
Yeah.
wrong. And since that pivoting moment, like, it's has absolutely been the right decision. Every single day, there's never been a day where I'm like, I regret it. I wish I was an athletic trainer. No, I mean, it's fun to help the football team as they need me and ask for my help, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that you made that choice too. And it just makes me think about how for all of us, I think, life kind of takes a journey that is not necessarily linear, and
Mhm.
sometimes um, only by doing something do we figure out that that's really not for me, and I'd rather do something else.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's okay. What I hear you saying is it is okay to even finish a degree and to start a master's degree and to go, yeah, I'm not sure about this.
Yeah. And it was hard. It was hard for me to put my ego in check
Hmm.
and to have that conversation with people that I'm like, no, I know I told you I was going to do this and I always follow through, but
Yeah,
nope, I'm putting myself first and myself says, this isn't it.
yeah. How does that experience influence the way that you do your job now?
I'm, I mean, for one, my background being what it is, it has given me a massive knowledge base and tools to pull from to teach health and all the different aspects from it, which has been incredibly beneficial. Because when I'm teaching it and kids can ask, like, but how do you know? And I'm like, well, this is how I know. And so that is helpful within itself. And then I think the me changing career paths, I ought to say, it has given me the perspective to help the students realize, like, just because you try something and it's not for you doesn't mean you have to stick with it. Like, we have to follow what's best for us. And there's been many students where I've helped them kind of see that transition and help them figure out, okay, what are the first couple steps? We got to do what we want to do.
The other thing that it makes me think about, I concur 100%. I wonder sometimes with our students, and I don't think this is necessarily new, but kind of like you said, you had decided you were going to do this, and then the one of the hardest things that you had to do was say to yourself, "This, I, I, I feel differently now,"
Mm-hmm.
and give yourself permission basically to say, "I tried something, it didn't work the way I wanted it to, and that's okay,"
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it's okay to believe this, and then later to go, I used to believe that. Now I believe this. And so I'm going to change doing what my initial plans were because now I have something that causes me to believe differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the students, especially at the middle school level, they're at a very transitional period. They're starting to have new freedoms and experience new things. And as they're experiencing things, many times they're like, well, I tried it and I don't like it. And
Yeah.
what do I do now? And so going through that myself, it's been easier for me to help them work through it on their end.
Yeah. Just kind of uh, big picture wise, what are some concerning trends that you see in youth in 2024 um, that cause you to go, uh, Well, just that cause you maybe some worry.
Um, oh boy, that's a question that gets me on a soapbox. Um, so some concerns, especially from like the traditional health teacher side, are the lack of physical activity with our youth. And don't get me wrong, we have amazing athletes, but majority of the generation we're teaching right now is so sedentary, and they don't realize the lifelong physical effects that come with that sedentariness. Also, the nutrition and how much a lack of nutrition with the increase of processed foods and chemicals. Again, they don't realize that long term effect, and even how that those two things are affecting them in school. So it's not just like the life picture, but the in school we're starting to have behavior problems because their bodies are not functioning how they should at 13 years old. They're having problems that a 60-year-old should have. And it's kind of just affecting them inside and outside the class a lot more than many realize.
Yeah. And I maybe you can speak to this a little bit too. At least my perception, and I'm not an expert in the field, but I wonder, and I notice it with myself, is that when my physical activity and my nutrition suffer, then the other thing that suffers besides feeling bad physically is that I start to feel bad, mentally too, and my well-being in like positivity and approaching life with some vigor and enthusiasm starts to wane a little bit. I'm wondering if you know of or can speak to a correlation between some of what you just mentioned, that kind of like sitting around and not being real active and eating crappy foods and stuff. Like what does that do to any person, but especially a young person's mental health?
It causes a really big problem with them, um, and their overall mental health, because I mean, when we are in a sedentary state, we're not getting the hormone release from when we exercise. And without those happy hormones,
Hmm.
we're stuck in the lull. And then they're sitting on, doom scrolling on social media,
Yeah.
and that makes mental health, you know, tank completely. Nothing good comes from
Mm.
that. Um, yeah, no, there's a complete connection, and that's something that I really expressed and spend a lot of time expressing with the students of how it's connected. And then I also make them evaluate in their own life, like, when have you seen this connection? When have you noticed that? So that way they can start monitoring it in hopes that they can kind of make that adjustment before they're 30 and 40 and realizing, oh, wait, this is why I feel like crap.
Yeah. So eat healthy, or at least eat a little bit healthy. I say this for myself too, and get outside, do something
Mm,
active. All of those, like you said, all of those feel good chemicals. Like there is something to that makes a
yeah,
difference. Yeah.
absolutely.
So recently, you and Mr. Tate had a new addition to your family.
Yeah, just shy of 19 months ago, we had a little girl, and that having kids changes everything.
What are some of the things that have changed for you by now having being a parent and having that beautiful little daughter?
I'm, well, I have figured out how to run on minimal sleep. So that's been a fun skill to add. Um, I mean, everything changes when you become a mom. Um, and it's changed kind of how I handle the kids,
Hmm.
and not like for the positive, just my perspective on teaching, when I can see like, okay, but this is somebody's kid,
Hmm.
and now I know like what it feels like to be a mom. I get a little bit more protective of them, and kind of push them to advocate for themselves a little bit more.
Yeah. Um, what what is it that you enjoy most about being a new parent?
um oh gosh, there's a lot of things that come. She's at the age now where she's has a full on personality, and she's so funny and does the funniest things. So I think it's experiencing all the first through her eyes, because I'm like, I've opened a cupboard. What? what are you talking about? Why is this the best thing to ever happen to us? Okay, this is the best thing to ever happen to us. And just the wonder and the amount of constant learning that's going on to things that are mundane to me, watching the excitement that she gets from it.
Yeah,
It's been really fun.
it really does put things in perspective, doesn't it? Has she had her first word yet?
Oh, yeah, she talks up a storm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, always talking and arguing,
Yeah.
very sassy.
No is part of the vocabulary now.
I'm that she actually doesn't use that one
Well,
very
good.
much. It was one of the first
Yeah,
words,
yeah.
and that one we were like, oh boy, here we
Mhm,
go.
mhm.
But no, now she doesn't use that one a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that. And the best part of my life is being a parent and now a
Hmm.
grandparent, and there is really nothing that's better than that. So, as you think about your future and your career, or just even thinking about the students that you're working with now, like what are your hopes and aspirations for the the impact that you want to be able to make on the lives of the students that you're teaching now?
Um, when it comes to, so two parts to it, the social emotional side being a big support um, for them and showing them and helping them through things and just being that positive impact that not all of them have the support at home that they deserve and that they need. And so knowing that there's at least one person out there that's going to be happy to see them, that's going to be proud of their accomplishments, that's going to, when they fall, brush them off and say, it's okay, try again. We got to try again.
Yeah.
Um, so that side, that's continuing to do that. That's one of my favorite parts about the job. And then education wise, continuing to fine tune how I teach health and how I teach these kids about their bodies to best set them up for success in their future and their adulthood, so they can live a long and healthy and successful life.
Yeah. Well, it's such an important subject. We feel fortunate that we have someone who's so qualified to be able to interact with students in that way. But so glad that you and Mr. Tate are both here, and appreciate all of your hard work. And thanks for spending a couple minutes to talk today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.